Nothing's better than raising my daughter, and I'm so grateful for this. It's like, yeah, I get to act. I was
Oh,
losing my
yeah.
independence, and my, who I was changing, and I needed help, but didn't really want to need help. And then she has no
Yeah.
filter, and I'm like,
She
oh
doesn't.
God, you got to be careful.
Sleeveless. That's the word one of her directors used. Not talented, although she is. Not skilled, although she is also skilled. But sleeveless. Like she walks into every scene without any covering at all. Another director called her work unprotected. Another called it real. I worked with her once for one scene and I felt it across the room myself. Have you ever watched a performance and thought the same thing or felt something shift inside you? A scene that got under your skin, a face you couldn't look away from, a moment where you forgot you were watching someone act. Welcome to The Silver Frame, where stories expose the human mind. I'm your host, Miguel Velasquez, and each episode we explore the psychology behind the films, shows, and performances we love. Not to analyze them, but to understand ourselves through them. So here's what I want to talk about today. Most of us, when we think about great acting, we think about feelings, right? We think about actors who can cry on cue, the ones who seem to feel things more deeply than the rest of us, the ones who look sensitive or feel more sensitive. And that makes kind of sense, right? Because when a performance shakes you, when you're sitting there with a knot in your chest and your hands are clammy and it feels like the person on screen must be feeling something enormous for you to feel it too, right? But here's the thing. That assumption is mostly wrong. There's a study from 2009 by Talia Goldstein at Boston College, later George Mason University, published in a journal called Imagination, Cognition, and Personality. She tested actors against non-actors on emotional skills, and she found something that surprised her. Actors didn't score higher on empathy. They weren't feeling more than the rest of us. I mean, not measurably at least. What they were better at was something called theory of mind, which is a fancy term for a really specific skill. The ability to look at a person and accurately figure out what they're thinking, what they want, what they're hiding, perception, not feeling. And once I learned that, I couldn't help but notice it in other performances that I watched. Because think about the performances that have stayed with you, the ones that don't leave. I'd bet it's not because the actor was crying harder than anybody else. It's because the actor was seeing something or noticing something, and you felt them doing that, and you could feel them noticing it. That is the craft. Perception, precise enough to be felt from the other side of the camera. So I wanted to talk about all of this with someone who actually does it for a living, and not just does it in a very specific way that other people keep pointing at. My guest today is Ellen Boscov. Ellen is an award-winning actress and screenwriter, classically trained at the University of North Carolina School of the Arts. Also, she's an improv veteran. She was on the house team at Philly Improv Theater, and her work is everywhere right now. She's busy. She played Andy Kaufman's mother in Jason Reitman's Saturday Night, opposite Nicholas Braun. She stars as the lead in a pilot called Ethel and Ernie, for which she just won Best Acting at the Hollywood International Diversity Film Festival, and the pilot is heading to LA Film Fest next. And she's on Fox and Hulu in a show called Best Medicine. And full disclosure, that last one is where I met her. We worked together on an episode, and I've actually felt things about what I'm about to ask her from about 3 feet away. So, Ellen, welcome to the Silver Frame podcast.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
Thank you. I'm so glad to talk to you today. And I want to start here. In Saturday Night, you play Mrs. Kaufman, Andy Kaufman's mother. She's a real person, a person whose son became one of the most loved, most strange to some people, most grieved over comedians in American history. And he also died at the very young age of 35. Now, you're playing her in 1975 before any of that happened to her, obviously. But you know, and the audience knows. My question to you is, looking back at your preparation for Mrs. Kaufman, research that you may have done for the Kaufmans and watching clips or maybe script work, body language, all of it, what part of your preparation served you most in that performance? Or would you say all of that was useful?
Oh, all of it was useful. It was such a pleasure to be able to work with a real person.
Right.
I only had, it's a small part in the film, and I was cast 2 weeks before it shot, and I had a lead in
Wow.
something else that
Wow.
finished less than a week before it started. But I still ate up as much research as I could in that time. I got to watch videos of her on David Letterman, and there was a documentary about Andy Kaufman where she was there, and interview with her with the New Yorker, and I could hear her talk and I could see her, and I loved that. That's an unusual thing. But then also, to be able to have what I usually use is a person besides other, finding main objectives and stuff like that, is personal substitution, and then sort of mix it with the character's life and try to let go of it a little bit. But the personal substitution with this was very easy. She's a Jewish mother. I'm a Jewish mother. And she's bringing Andy Kaufman to the opening of where he's going to do his thing. And I just want him to be happy and do his thing. That's really what I probably want when I drop my daughter off for the first time to sleepaway camp, right? So I had
Right.
a little substitution there. So I heard how she talked. She's from New York, and she grew up in the Bronx, and I heard her talk. So I knew how she sounded. So that was
Right.
great. And I
She
know
really
how
does.
it feels to drop my daughter off at camp and wanting her to have a great time. I guess maybe for me, the most important thing as an actor is being able to use that substitution. Like if I can't do that, I wouldn't want to play the part probably. Usually there's something to relate in every character. So yeah.
Absolutely. That's such a valid point, because what a gift it must have been to be able to have the ability to have enough material and footage and things to really sink your teeth into, but also bring yourself to that character. Like, like you said, being a mom and being a New Yorker and being able to bring some of your personal experience to that. That must have been a really great way to meet the character halfway and make it your own, but also use so much of what you were able to see. Because like for us actors to be able to play someone where you have so much to pull from is always such a dream, in my opinion. Like we always,
Oh yeah,
at
it
least
makes
for
it so
me.
much easier. Definitely.
Yes. Right.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things
And
yeah, please.
oh, well, the other thing, the other thing with that I use is improv when sometimes I'll improv with a friend or something, or hopefully that's the ideal, or I'll improv by myself. I love using improv because that's my background.
Right.
And I had this really great fortune in that when I met Nicholas Braun, who played Andy Kaufman, I went, "Oh, my son, how are you? Oh,
I love
oh,
that.
and he's,
Yeah.
he started improvising with me, and then we just did that a little bit. And then
Amazing.
he said, can we keep this up? And I'm like, yes, because
Like,
I love
please.
improv more than anything. Please.
Yeah.
So he had to do the foreign man accent.
That's
And
amazing.
yeah, and so he wanted practice with it to keep on doing improv. And if another actor wants to improv with me, I don't care if I have 2 lines or 3 lines or 4, a couple, just a short part.
Yeah.
That's heaven for me because I love improving. I mean, I'll improv
Absolutely.
all day with my sister just for fun. I love improving. So
Absolutely.
that was so much fun, and that was another tool. I'm talking a lot, but I guess that's okay.
This is great. So much good stuff here.
Okay, so it was a very technical scene where we're on 50th Street is blocked off in front of 30 Rockefeller Center marquee, and they have created a traffic jam. They rented cars to create a traffic jam. So it's very technical scene. And Jason Reitman is just totally chill. He's a very easygoing person, very chill handling all of this. But
Such a pro.
because it was such a technical scene, I had a lot of time to improv with Nicholas Braun. And so I felt my part, which was small, felt giant. Because I was improvising all night with Nicholas Braun.
It's so great to work with such a generous actor, because then, you really get to play, and improv really does that for an actor. Just improv before you're on set is such a great training ground for an actor, and to be able to use it on set is such a gift, because you get to really get off script, but be in the moment, and just react, which is like,
And And even on set, I didn't know because I had a small part. I didn't know that. I knew that he said to do the characters hyper real with wild abandon. I knew that, but I
Oh,
didn't
I
know
love
that you could improv on set. But once the first take was done, I noticed, oh, they're improving a little. So I could too,
right.
which was nice.
Well, I've always
I mean,
have
with the camera rolling too.
with the
So
camera rolling. Yeah.
yeah.
Right. I've never had the opportunity to just improv while the camera was rolling, but I've always dreamed of it because it just seems like a lot of magical, unexpected things happen when you get off the script, when you're not married to the words as much, more just about the moment. That is a fascinating way to portray a character, especially when you've got the other person in front of you. When you're preparing and rehearsing at home is great too, but once you're there, that's amazing. One of the things that struck me in what you shared about Saturday Night is that exactly that, the improvising in character with Nicholas. Do you think that preparation, do you think that invisible layer that people don't see makes it to the screen, in other words?
Totally. And I think there was my part's small, but there were 2 lines that were put into the final thing that were improvised. He said, "Bye bye, mommy." And I said, "Bye, honey. I love you." Those were 2, they were 2 added. When you have a small part, you don't necessarily feel free to do an improv, but there's something about that atmosphere that made me feel free. And also just, how could she not say I love you to him?
Right.
He had to. It would have
Right. That's her baby.
Yes. So that moment, that tiny little interaction was actually improv. It was sweet to see him, take the moment to turn around and say, "Bye, Mom." It was nice for me to see that happen too.
Oh, what a sweet moment. And then obviously the improv, it reads as so genuine and transparent, on the screen. When you have that ability and you have a scene partner that is so game to be improv and trying to.
Oh God. Yeah. I've always loved his work on Succession. He's Greg on Succession.
He was so good. Oh my God.
I felt like, oh, he must be using improv on that because it's
right.
so.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know any. I'm just thinking he has to be. I don't know any, just like anybody else. But yeah.
Right. So the whole that whole ensemble, the show itself is so off the handle that you can't help but think like, oh yeah, this has to be improvised. It's so wild.
Little moments have to be added that way. Not that. See, my favorite way to do improv is actually following a script. That is my absolute favorite. Because it's like layers upon layers. That's just the best.
That's right.
I love when a director works that way. I've worked with other directors who work that way too. So even if you're working and you should be line for line, and that's what they want. Everything is really an improv because you don't know how in each take the other actor is really going to come towards you. So you have to keep yourself open to the improv of the moment. I remind myself of that. It's still an improv, really.
Yeah, that's a great point, especially like what you just mentioned about the script and being word for word. Like, the script is still great because it's a guide, right? Like it's the map. It'll bring you to the corners and the places that you need to go to. And obviously you're working for a director who wants you to honor that. But being able to improv on top of that is also great because you can respond a genuine response in those little moments are what really stand out in performances.
And even if you can't, even if you have to go, did you catch that? Even if you have to go word for word, you're still improving in how you say it because you're reacting to someone else.
Yes.
And you don't know how what's going to come at you. So how it comes out is sort of like an improv. You still need that energy.
Yes,
of
being
improv.
the responsive effect of like really listening makes you respond in whatever way the moment calls for, not what you prepared before
Right.
you got on set. Yeah, that's great.
It's something I remind myself of because I want to, you can get mechanical. And so I try to remind myself, no, this is, even if I'm word for word, it's still an improv.
Yeah.
I tell myself that.
That's a great. I'm going to put that in my back pocket and take that from you as well, Ellen, because as professionals, we want to hit our marks and we want to be able to use the preparation that we worked so hard on. But really where the magic happens is let it go.
Yeah.
And when you're on set and that scene is, once it's action, you can definitely, if you let it, use those moments to respond with that improv, like you said, is very, it just translates differently on screen.
Yeah, I think so. If you're feeling
Yeah.
free enough to be there that way, I think so.
Yes.
Whether
So-
you're really doing improv or with the words or just with the way it comes out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I want to ask you about that word now that I saw on your website, which I was so moved when I read such nice things from your directors. Sleeveless really jumped at me. And it's director Mike Jacobson wrote it about you. And he didn't just say sleeveless. He said, and I'm going to read this word for word, but he said, you go into every role sleeveless and unprotected by any walls, which allows you to make every character a piece of you and real. And he's not the only one. Ethel Levine, another director you worked for.
I haven't read that in a while. I have read
No.
it before.
I'm not surprised. You've been busy and you're not looking at your website all the time, right? But he's not the only one. Ethel Levine said, you brought a realness to the character you played for him. And Eugene Cole talked about grace and vulnerability. And Paul Trigiani talked about seeing you as you are. Those are such great words, but different people, different sets, same observation. So
that's nice. Gosh, thank you for looking at it like that. Because I
had to do my homework.
That's very sweet of you. Thank you. That was nice for little boost for me.
Yes. Well, it's true. Then directors, when they use that language, sleeveless, unprotected, real, what do you think they're actually seeing? Like, what's the thing they're describing?
Well, probably what the technique I told you I do use is with the substitution technique does help bring me to it. And like when I'm reading over the script or learning the lines or thinking about the character, these moments in my own life just go through my head. And then I think, well, how does this person, what if I'm talking to someone else in it, I think, well, who brings this person out in me? I cut a picture out of the person who tends to bring that side of me out. Because you know how you're different people to other people.
Absolutely.
So I cut out pictures of whoever, and it might be 5 different people who bring that side of me out, who remind me of a moment that's similar. And I'll cut their pictures out and, I'll practice with talking to the different photos of them. So that I am bringing something real in. And the goal is eventually to put everything together and let it go. But I do try to bring something real in.
I love that. I love that technique that you use with the photos because we all need a motivation, right? Like there's a motivation and we all get it from different places in different ways. The photos really make it personal and the subtext, right, comes out, I feel like, when you do things like that. So let's talk about Ethel and Ernie, which, by the way, oh my God, the clips I've seen, so funny. You are so funny, and you're not trying to be funny, but you are so funny. I love them. You're playing.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, I hope that we get to see more of Ethel because the pilot is so good. But you play Ethel Lennon, who's a lead, and she's a 73-year-old woman who's lost her driver's license and her independence and now has a caregiver named Ernie, who's also amazing. And she needs more than she'll admit from her caregiver. And you won Best Acting at the Hollywood International Diversity Film Festival for this role. Big congratulations. Wow. Mm-hmm. I see good things happening with this Ethel and Ernie.
I love that
part. It
part
is so good. It is it reminds me of those sitcoms that I grew up loving as a kid in the 90s. And it's got that recipe. Heartfelt comedy, really good, solid acting, great, probably improv, right? And the storyline is so relatable that I can't think of any other way of inviting people to the sitcom world again. So I see good things. But I'm curious, what drew you to Ethel? What is it about her that you felt you understood about the character?
Well, her main objective, I can get really strong in myself. I feel like she's fighting for her identity. She feels like that she's losing her independence and being treated like sometimes like a child, and because she can't drive anymore, and her husband had died, and she is such a fighter. I love what a fighter is. Her husband died, and that's like losing, half of yourself, right? If the husband of many years. So
Yes.
but she refuses to let him die. She actually cuts out pictures of him, big lifelike things, and they're all over the house and in the car. And so she's
Oh
always
my
still
God.
talking to him. I actually had a fight having a Brooklyn accent. I had to learn not to when I was in acting
Not
school.
to.
So that, and when I read it, she didn't have to have a Brooklyn accent, but for some
Right.
reason, because lives in California, but for some reason that came back. It's
That's amazing.
it's like, oh, she has to have one. She doesn't have to, but she has to.
I can't think of her without one now.
Yeah, I know. It was interesting. And a lot of, people in California are from New York, in the Jewish community. So
Yeah,
it fits.
absolutely.
It's not a stretch. For substitution, I have lost people who are, who are like best friends to me, like her husband was. And I love that she, she's not letting go, she's keeping that part of herself. And then, so that I relate to. And I think there are times in my life where she feels her daughter in this. She's used to being in charge of her own life, and her daughter's ruling her life and saying a caregiver has her.
Yeah.
And caregiver, people are talking about what she should eat and stuff. And she's a grown up, for God's sake. So, I actually had to move. I became a single mom suddenly when my daughter was 2 months old and had to stay with my mother for a while. And I was 34, staying with my mother. So there were some substitutions there for sure. I was losing my independence, and who I was changing, and I needed help, but didn't really want to need help. So I could relate to that. Also, with aging, people treat you different if your hair is white or gray or, salt and peppers, I guess is what my hair is. But
which I just got like 2 grays on the side of my head recently, and I'm very proud of them. So I look forward to more. So I love grays.
But it's like you don't feel different, but people are treating you different. So it's like,
Exactly.
hey, I don't need you to talk nice to me like I'm a child and go, oh, I'll get you this, I'll do this for no.
Right.
Hey,
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
So I understood the fight in her, and I also kind of admire it because I'm kind of a people pleaser a lot of times, and so she's kind of more of a badass than I am. So I kind of I'll maybe to be loved will maybe put my identity aside.
Like many of us do a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. And if you do, then are you really loved? Right.
Right. That's a great point.
So,
I think especially as a lot of actors who are empaths, we're people pleasers, definitely. So with acting, especially with a role like who's got some, chutzpah, you can exercise that side of you that's like, no, I'm laying my foot down and you're going to respect me kind of thing, So being able to do that is so gratifying sometimes when you have the opportunity to play something opposite of you.
Yes, and that way it's very freeing. It's also a little dangerous because I can be, I like to improv all the time, and she has no filter. And I'm like, oh God, you got to be careful.
Yes. She must make a fun set, Ethel. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it was a great set. It's all women run, women director, women producers, women leads, wonderful women in the crew, the first assistant director, amazing. Everyone, there was just,
nice community.
Yeah, it was a nice community. And yeah.
Wow. You brought me to thinking about what I wanted to ask you next is working on another great community with Best Medicine and you were across many episodes with them. And what I noticed we were on set was how you settled your work in the scene. You settled into that and it wasn't recalibrated or no adjustment. You were just grounded. And that really is why those directors are pointing at that when they talk about the quality of you being fully in it. When the part doesn't give you a lot of room for it, maybe it's too small, or maybe it's just not you, etc. But you really did it a nice way with Coffee Carla. And I
Oh,
just
thank
wanted to
you.
point that out with you. Coffee Carla is a joy, and seeing you do that was such a treat. But here's what the research says about why audiences can feel that genuine groundedness in a performance. There's a concept in emotion research called expressive suppression. Basically, when you clamp down on what you're feeling, it shows, right? It's visible in your micromuscles in your face, literally. Audiences don't consciously notice that, but their nervous systems do. So when an actor stops suppressing that, when they actually let themselves be available to the moment, improv, or, just being generally responsive, the audience's body reads that as real. So I think that's the whole thing, right? Sleeveless is not just a word or a vibe. It's a visible neurological state that the viewer actually notices. Okay, so I want to talk to you about something. Let's ask a little bit of harder questions, because I think one of the things this show
let me
does.
just also say I loved working with you that day.
Oh, thank you. Thank you
Really
so much,
wonderful.
Ellen. It was such a joy working together those few days that I was on set. It was so much fun behind the scenes and between takes and laughing and all of that, but also watching you do that. And then to see it on the big screen when the episodes aired, it was pretty surreal to watch you do your thing up there. And
I like
taking me
watching you.
back.
Love watching you do your thing too.
Oh, thank you so much. I think what really resonates with audiences on Best Medicine is, like you said, that community. There's
Yeah.
community happening behind the scene, which we experience, right? But also in front of them, the town, the people, the doctor, even though he's like grumpy or whatnot. The wholesomeness of it all, people do sometimes crave that because of situations that we're in today and how life can feel really heavy. So I think it's that's why audiences really resonated with that. So here's sort of season 2, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's really important these days. I think people are real. I mean, there's been studies that show that people are suffering from depression and loneliness because there's too much screen time and not enough real connection. And
That's right.
and the COVID brought that in, and a community where you're really with each other and you can really get to know each other and love each other is a relief to see on. And the community is family, and that's what I gave myself as an actor too. Is that
Yeah.
I actually sort of, it's a little part. So in my head, but I wanted to go with with what the show was about. So I gave myself a backstory of a lot of loss, and
That's amazing.
I was
Yeah.
going to make the community my family. I mean, that's what I try to do with little roles, by the way, is
Right.
like think about. I always like to look at the whole script. Like I actually, if I don't get the whole script, I'll ask, can I have the whole script? I'm a nerd. I'm an acting nerd. And then I try to think, how does this character fit into the whole script that will help tell the story, even if it's just subconsciously, because, it's just a little blip still.
Absolutely.
You want to fit in. So
Absolutely. I can relate to the acting nerd thing, because what I was doing on Best Medicine, even though I was only on one episode, I read the entire episode like 6 times in my room before I was working, because like you said, I want to know where they fit in this world, what this world is like, what is actually happening outside of this scene, and how does that, how do the dots connect? Essentially. So I can relate to that. It's just
I'm not surprised. Yeah.
I appreciate that. Yeah. It's what
I figured you were probably an acting nerd too.
yeah. Something gave me that impression. Which is, one of my goals with this show is to just sort of highlight to people what it actually takes to do the job, and what it entails. And speaking of that, there's a study from 2012 that I want to share from Paula Thompson and Victoria Jaque at Cal State Northridge. It's called Holding a Mirror Up to Nature: Psychological Vulnerability in Actors. They studied professional actors against non-actors, and they found something both beautiful and difficult. The actor had more psychology security, more self-awareness, in other words, more of what you'd want in a stable adult. And they also were more unresolved. They had more unresolved mourning, more dissociation. They were more vulnerable to psychological distress, even though they didn't experience more trauma than the control group. So the same openness that lets an actor step into a role is the openness that lets old grief come up. So you can't have the gift without the cost, essentially, is what's happening. Which brings me to the next question, Ellen. The night before a heavy scene, or maybe just a scene in general, be it Mrs. Kaufman or Ethel refusing to accept help, or stuff you've done in the past, what does that evening look like to you as far as preparing goes? And I have a little ritual that I'd like to share with you since we're being nerdy. What I like to do the night before a job, if the scene entails, happiness, sadness, whatever the is happening in the scene, I like to write a journal entry, me as the character, and I express that emotion, whatever it is that I'm trying to convey in the scene with my scene partner, onto the page. So if I'm just mad at somebody in the scene, or if it's just me by myself in the scene, I'm writing it as if I'm in the scene. And what that does for me is just sort of like lets those emotions come to surface and bubble up and have it kind of accessible and fresh in mind for the next day. And sometimes I like to do it on set as well. Do you have anything that is kind of like that, or that sits with the material before you have to live it the next day? Is there a ritual you like to do?
I mean, I do that is one of my techniques too, to do the journaling.
Nice. Yeah.
It doesn't have to be the night before.
Right.
mean, but it probably will be a little bit the night. I'm sure something's going to be a little bit the night before, either that or improv.
But speaking of improv, we've touched on that a bit earlier, but what has improv given you as a film and television actor that you couldn't have gotten in any other way? So improv is, obviously for the stage, very big, and for training for the stage, but has it given you anything that you've been able to use in front of the camera?
Like I said with the Mrs. Kaufman, that was a small part, but I think it made it more alive that we could do improv. I did
Sure.
improv and was able to use improv a little bit with Ethel and Ernie here and there. There's a couple things, it's with the script, with a lot of the parts I've done. In your question, though, I think you mean doing improv, not with the script, but separate. Did that help my...
Right. So,
Yeah.
for example, what I think about when I think about my improv days is there was a specific thing during my improv class that really sort of like set a light bulb. It was my light bulb moment with improv. I was with a scene partner and I was playing a plumber in the scene, and they were the customer. We were in their house. In the middle of it all, I was pretending I was under a sink and sort of like, chatting and talking about the problem and whatnot. And in the midst of it all, I found myself sort of just responding instead of thinking. And I thought, oh, okay, this is what improv does. It shows you it forces you to be grounded and not think about anything else other than what is in front of you.
Yeah,
So
it does help you be in the moment for sure.
Yes.
That's a
Yeah.
huge thing about it. That's why I remind myself when I act on set,
Right.
you're improving, even if I'm word for word.
Yes.
Just
That's
because I
it.
just want to be in the moment.
That's it. That's the craft. Absolutely. I agree. I think that's exactly.
I mean, you have all that work behind you. Trust that, and then improv.
Yes.
The
Yeah, it's
best.
interesting because we do that in life in any other aspect, right? But for some reason, when it's time to act, we have to sort of make it a point and remind ourselves. It's like, no, you have to do that here too. You don't turn yourself off. You actually turn yourself on even more. So reminding ourselves that if you turn that on, you have everything you need. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a good reminder.
Absolutely.
I pretty much that when you talk about writing, I mean, that is one of the things that I do every time, pretty much. That goes through my head every time.
Right. A lot about when I think about like what it takes to act. And during my research for this episode, something that I found so fascinating was a study by Mark Setton, and he's an Australian gentleman at the University of Sydney. He's one of the founding members of the Australian Society for Performing Arts Healthcare. And he coined a term in 2006, post-traumatic stress, because he noticed that the industry tends to ask actors to obviously go all in, right? Go unprotected, break open, whatever that takes. Just, do it so they can give us your true, honest self. But then when the scene ends, when the wrap happens and when the crew goes home, it mostly doesn't give us anything else to come down with, right? Like even as I ask you the questions of like, what do you do to prepare? We don't really tell actors how to like come down from their performances. I know after a long day on set, it's hard to unwind. So I found that part of the preparation process for an actor very interesting because there's so much technique and courses and how-tos and whatnot on how to prepare, but there's not really much out there for how to come down from all of that. In his research, it landed hard for me. He said that the advice he kept hearing in drama school is basically that you develop the heart of a dove and then hide the hide of a rhinoceros, right? Or just get over it. That's the professor's cool down plan usually. So I want to just point that out because we were talking about preparation, and I want to tell actors to make sure you practice self-care. So in any event, I think that's a great thing to touch on because you'll hear about, actors who sort of feel sort of stuck in their roles and they don't know how to come back to themselves. But something you touched on briefly was playing small roles and how it's sometimes harder than playing a lead. When we were talking about getting ready to film the episode and when we met on Best Medicine, where we're both playing smaller roles. You have a meatier role than I do, but now that you've played a lead in Ethel and Ernie and won Best Acting, I know I keep putting that out there, but it should be said.
That's nice of you. I
Of course.
appreciate
So what is the actual craft difference, you think, between those two modes, a small, quote unquote, versus a lead and vice versa?
Well, I mean, they have different challenges. Like the lead, I think it's easier to just really live it because you have so much material and you're constantly living it. Really?
Yes.
I mean, it's
True.
just, you might not need that reminder of improv so much
Right.
because you're just constantly, you're there. You're
So
there.
true.
And then the scripts kind of supports you. But there's plenty of challenges in that. The hours, I actually even find it easier to learn to remember the lines when I have a ton of them. I don't know why. It's bizarre. But what's more challenging is that the hours an actor works, I don't know if a lot of people are aware of this, but if you're the lead in the Ethel and Ernie, I had to get there when the crew got there because I had marvelous hairdo.
You
with
did.
a marvelous hairdresser. Oh my
Oh, did
God,
you?
what a big fun,
Oh,
and it was
yes.
totally worth it. But really all there was time for was sleeping and acting, and you eat quickly.
Yes. Oh my
And that's
God.
it. So you're just, it's a marvelous devotion, but it is total 100% devotion. No time for anything else when you're doing the shoots. And so that in itself is a huge commitment.
Yes.
But there are those things that I said that are just, you need less reminders for there. So I find the small parts more challenging as far as being in the moment, being more natural, remembering the lines. Even I don't even know why that is, but it's just
It could be one line. Yeah.
We probably worked too hard on that one line.
Right.
So knowing us, because we're both nerds, right?
That's right. Right.
So,
We're doing the work even when it's not required.
But I do love the challenge. I mean, I think I love a challenge in general.
Yeah.
And so either I love doing both kinds of roles, but then of course what's easier with the small roles is
You get to
do
go home.
to talk to your friends and relax a little bit and stuff like that. But who wants to do that anyway?
Exactly.
I want to talk to my friends,
That's
but
right.
I don't really want to relax. I like working. So
Same. We can see them later. I can see my friends any other time, right? I want to do this. Yeah, I agree.
So yeah, you can have a more balanced life if you're not just you're always the lead anyway. But yeah, which is probably a good thing. But I'll take the lead.
Same. I as you mentioned, as you said, there's something about having the room and the space and the time to be able to have an arc and develop the character and have the ability to give it a life, right? Where as opposed to a smaller role, you're constrained a lot more and you have to bring, it's funny because even if it's one line, you still have to bring something, right? Because they want you to bring something.
You want to bring the person there in one line. So it's more of a challenge that way. I mean, I work in making a whole life for the character and hope that, it's there. And it's not is, the audience will hopefully feel it subconsciously. They're not going to really be conscious of it, but hopefully
That's right.
subconsciously they'll feel it.
Right.
And,
That's right.
And
Well,
hopefully you're supporting the world, the script. And I mean, it's
absolutely.
all a good challenge. I'll take that too. It's a good challenge to have because you want to support the director's vision. You want to support the world of the film. And so I do a lot of writing in my head for that life of that character.
Yes.
That would
I do that sometimes a lot on paper too. Yeah. Giving them who, what, when, where, why, who they are and all of that. Yeah. And like you just said, the audience may not be aware of that. But that's the work that it takes to make things look like it's not that much, right? Or it's effortless. That actually takes work.
Yeah. Hopefully subconsciously they'll feel, oh, you're helping create the world of this. The world that everyone has worked so hard together to create. Because it's a team project.
Oh.
I mean, and you can really honor the team. One of the wonderful things about working on film or TV is it is such teamwork. So feeling where you fit in the team
100%.
and how that you're supporting that team and creating this world is
100%. Yeah, it takes a village for sure. It's such a big team effort.
Yes, I know. When I was playing Ethel and Ernie, I talked to someone who had a little role in it, and I said how much I appreciated his work because I know how hard it can be to really be there in those little roles, and he was.
Yes, and you know what? I'm sure he will remember that. I know it may have just been like you being honest, but when an actor who's doing something smaller than the lead hears that from the lead, that's it has weight for sure.
Well, I hope. Yes, and I was just being honest, but and also because I know what it's like to play the littler roles and how they are challenging. So.
Yes,
so I did
it really
appreciate
is. Yeah. You took an extended break as well. You mentioned that to me. And you did also do improv, but you came back in around 2019, I believe you mentioned. What was it like to re-enter the craft? Did it feel like you were starting over, or did it feel like something you never left? Did it feel like you were home again? What was that like?
Yeah, I had kind of a crazy, challenging situation that I was a single mom, and it's just sort of a unique situation. And I felt like what would work best was leaving acting. I never thought that talk about identity. I never thought that would be, but it turned out that that happened. So I did leave acting except for improv. But also the interesting thing, my daughter, this just came to me. My daughter has always been a little director at heart. And so I played every little character. She constantly directed me to like I was Chucky and the Rugrats, and I don't know, whatever
sweet.
character. And I was Angelica. Oh, you Rugrats, why don't you listen to me? And I was all the different characters. She gave me assigned all the different roles since she was really young.
Oh my God.
So I was still inhabiting the world there as well as improv.
That is adorable.
But I still wasn't, I wasn't acting really professionally. The improv had an audience sometimes, but it didn't pay. And
sure.
And so I not that matters. It's still improv, but it wasn't my profession at the time. So I was teaching sometimes, and sometimes I did other things. But anyway, your question was about coming back. So it makes me I feel young. I feel like I'm so not burnt out.
You
I'm
are
like,
so not. Oh my God.
Give me more. I want to work. Please let me work. And it's
first of all, you have the energy. So I could see that. And also, I mean, the state of mind that's where your age is in the state of mind. So
I feel young in the work. And I feel like, and I'm like, okay, I am not, I'm just ready for it. I can see that maybe I wouldn't if I just, I don't know how I'd feel if I can't, but I feel very appreciative too. I mean, it's like, oh, yes, thank you. Thank you, life, for giving me time to be able to do this too.
Oh my God, yes.
Because I'm so glad I had the time to, nothing's better than raising my daughter and
the most
there was
important
some
part
hard
of your
times
life.
there for other things, but nothing's better. I'm so glad for that. And I'm so grateful for this. It's like, I get to act.
Yes. So, you were a mom, you raised your daughter, you came back, and you're doing it even bigger now. And
Yeah, and it's possible that easily possible that I wouldn't have this opportunity in life, and I do, and I mean, I'm really grateful for it. So
Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely. I think I can relate to, well, first of all, shout out to single mothers, because I also was raised by a single mother, and I know how important that role is. So I am so appreciative of mine, as I'm sure your daughter is of you. The fact that she was showing you signs of her little director heart since day one is so cute and funny. Because I remember moments when I was driving my mother crazy with our camcorder around the house and doing crazy skits and in my backyard, like wearing costumes. And she's like, "What is wrong with you?" But she encouraged it and loved it. And your mother is your first audience, and she's the first one clapping for you. So good for you
yeah.
for taking the
Oh
time.
yeah. Oh
Yeah,
yes. Amelia was putting on a show constantly too. That's
I
the other
love that.
thing. And directing the little kids, and not only me but the little kids in school. And
Yeah,
oh my God, she really
that
has
is
that director in her.
absolutely. I can see why she ended up in her line of work, right? And you've been cast as that sort of leader of a family, the ones everyone else orbits around, the moms, the grandmothers, etc.
Yeah.
And I think you touched on this earlier. Is there something about those women you understand from the inside, something that makes them feel like that's a role that you already know, the territory is very familiar?
Oh
I feel
yeah.
like you're
I mean, if
grabbing from
a
reality.
mom, I've played a mom once that was awful. You
Yeah,
find,
those are real
I feel
too.
like
Yeah,
I don't think I was, I mean, I did my very best as a mom. Nothing was more important to me. But
yeah.
I once played a mom who was just totally awful too.
Oh,
The easiest thing in the world for me to play is a nurturing mother.
mm,
But you can find, if you're
that
playing something
conflict.
different than that, then you can find parts of yourself to bring out.
Right, right, right. Yes, we'll have a little bit of everything, right? It's just hard to dig in
Yeah,
and
you just have
find
to
it.
look at different parts of yourself. Or I mean, I played a character once who murdered people, and what I had to do was
Oh,
imagine that people were dolls, not real.
oh,
Like how
yeah.
would I treat people if they were just my dolls?
Like your
And I
possession,
get to
yeah.
act out all my rage. No. So you find, like, if it's like something that you just don't see yourself as right off, then there's just more thinking you have to do to find
Yes.
it in.
Yes, it goes back to our perception we were talking about earlier. Yes, it's the perception that you see it from. But I love that. It's like a creepy horror Ellen side. I hope we get to see that someday as the
That was the
dolls thing.
first film I did.
I
First
love that.
film I played. It was a wonderful role, and it was when I went back to film.
Yeah.
It was the first film I did. She was a mother who was hard to please, and then she becomes a murderer when she gets possessed. So
Oh,
yeah.
that's juicy.
But you
I
can
love that.
find different parts of yourself, even if you have to make the other characters your dolls.
That's
There's
right.
ways to
Yeah.
come up with it. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that take on the dolls because, like you said, although most of us aren't killers, thank God, and we hope we're not, we can sort of understand parts of them, which is like the rage and sort of the heartbreak that they feel, and all those parts that are ugly but that are still human. And
Yeah.
finding a way to personalize it is super helpful in preparing. I love that dolls thing.
Well, yeah. I mean, this character didn't see people as anything but something she would own
Yeah, a
and be able
possession.
to
Yeah.
use. So yeah, then make them something you own and can use.
Yeah, right. Makes sense.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
because if you can't give yourself that permission in life with real people because you empathize with them or whatever, or you feel like they have their own life that you have to honor, well, then
Right.
make them your dolls. Then you don't have to honor.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love this about you that I found out while looking you up. You voiced the fetus in one of your daughter, Amelia, and one of her films, which might be the coolest IMDb credit, in my opinion. I was like, okay, that is so awesome. So, and you mentioned this before that, you're picking up from your personal experience, but playing the fetus in your daughter's movie, I mean, you're obviously pulling from actual life there. I mean, you're reversing the role pretty much, but how was that? Tell me all about it. That sounds so much fun.
The interesting thing is the fetus in that is very nurturing.
Oh,
The fetus
that
is
is awesome.
very wise and nurturing.
Right.
So,
It's beyond their years.
it's very, I mean, it's very, yeah. So she made the fetus almost mother-like in a way,
I
because
love
the
it.
fetus was
Yeah.
saying, it's not my, it's not my time. And she was giving her words of wisdom to do what was right for her at that time, because she was
Yeah.
a teenager who was pregnant, and also telling her to that she also, maybe her mother makes mistakes, but so does she. so she almost had a parental.
That's so
the
funny.
fetus almost had a parental role.
She was wise beyond her years. She really had
She
a lot
was.
to say
But it was
for a
awesome.
fetus.
So yeah, it was like, I think when children are born, or in a young child, there's an innate understanding of right and wrong, or something like that. There's some kind of,
Yeah,
you know what I mean? And I
absolutely.
feel like Amelia sort of picked up on that kind of, some things get twisted and turned and mixed up,
Right.
but there's some kind of, I've seen it in little kids where they may not, like, if they're being treated wrong, they'll squirm.
Yes.
They'll know it. They won't be
Yeah.
able to, take care of themselves, but they'll
Yes.
know it,
Absolutely. I
And
definitely know what you mean. I feel like children have that before, that's like pre-jaded, pre-adult world intuitive thing that we're born with that,
yeah.
tells you, okay, something's wrong about this. What you're doing is not right. And everything else is taught, right? But
Yeah.
that thing is,
There's
I
something
love,
innate, right? I
absolutely.
think maybe Amelia picked up on that and
I
put it
love
in
that.
the fetus. And yeah, so it is very meta or something that I'm playing
Oh yeah. That is so
I
probably the
really
most,
admire my daughter, by the way. She's very, very talented.
I can tell. And first of all,
You have to watch her. That's from Tripping. You should watch the movie. It's wonderful. It's a short.
I'm there. I'm on it.
Amelia Xanthi Boscov is my daughter, and the story was about having to take a road trip to a lesbian mother who had a daughter. So we have that element, and then that's who she played. It because of the terrible politics, they had to drive very far to go get the abortion. Like a long road trip, and Scott was interested in that. And then it's really a mother-daughter film, and it's really a comedy.
Right.
So mother and daughter coming together kind of film.
Right.
So.
Well
And
done.
fetus, mother-daughter,
And mother-daughter fetus, of course. You
magical
can't
fetus.
forget the fetus. Yeah. Well done, Amelia and Ellen. I was so fascinated by that, and probably the coolest thing I read in a while. So I look forward to seeing that. Well, last question for you, Ellen. You've spent a career watching audiences react to stories, obviously, your own or your colleagues or the ones you grew up loving. But when a story really lands for someone, what do you think is moving in them? What do you think they come to stories for?
I think most of, I don't know about, I can't speak for everyone. For me, I think there's a little bit of existential angst and also a lot of things pushing me away from what is really matters. And I feel like when a story really lands for me, since I don't think I can speak for everyone, but it grounds me in something that really matters. That's something like, and often that would be, caring or loving, each other, or, some kind of real a reminder of how,
the things
what gets us through, maybe what gets us through life and what really matters to us in life. And it doesn't have to be what's a moralistic kind of thing, but just we see ourselves, we see being human, we see the struggle to get by. It helps us maybe understand ourselves.
I think my biggest takeaway from what you just said is it brings you back to everything that matters. I love that, because a lot of times when we're looking for an outlet, what we're looking for really is for like a reset, in my opinion, right? If you play a good song or a sad song or whatever kind of song you're in the mood to listen to, or you play a show or a movie, it really is indicative to your state of mind at the time. Not always, but for the most part, in my opinion. So I think you're right on when you say that it brings you back to everything that matters. So well said. Ellen, thank you so much for being here.
It's really fun to be with you. I really enjoy your company.
Oh, thank you so much. Likewise, I could talk to you all day. And everything we've
Same.
talked about, the perception stuff, the dropping of armor, the cost of the craft, the preparation, it all comes back to one thing. Great acting is not feeling extra or extra attention. An actor trains their perception until they can see a stranger with real clarity, the character, right? And then they do the harder thing, which is to let themselves be seen while they do it, without walls, without defense, sleeveless, as Ellen knows. And there's a cost. There's a name for the cost, and our nervous system feels both the gift and the cost. If you want to see Ellen's work, Saturday night is streaming. Ethel and Ernie is on the festival circuit with the LA Film Festival coming up May 21st. And Best Medicine is on Fox and Hulu. Links will be in the description. Thank you for watching The Silver Frame. And if this episode changed the way you watch performances, or if it reminded you of an actor who you trust or makes you feel these things, leave a comment and tell me all about it. I read every single one. Next episode, we're exploring why we root for the villain and what that says about us. Until then, keep watching and keep noticing, and remember, stories expose the human mind. Thanks, Ellen.
Oh, thank you.